Hey, this could be maybe a long video, maybe not. I hope it doesn't take you too long. Hopefully you guys can wreck this stuff. Sorry I couldn't be there for a review that night. Got to go to a wrestling match. So here's the review for Unit 4. Hopefully it's helpful to you. Half of these we're going to do in class, half of these we're going to do here. So here we go. Do I want to do them all? I don't believe I want to do them all. Maybe I should do them all. I'm not. I'm only going to do the ones I assigned. The rest of them I'm going to do in class because, well, quite frankly, the football game's going to start soon, and I don't want to be here all day. All right, so average rate of change. Average rate of change. When I see average rate of change, that just simply stands for slope, right? So we need an X, and we need a Y, right? So simply, these are my X values, -1 and 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go graph this thing. So I'm going to grab my old dumb machine. Oops, thought I had that going. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that, and then when I come back, well, that was fast, I'm going to do slope. Remember, slope is subtracting the y's on top and subtracting the x's on bottom. So the first thing I'll do is graph this thing. -3x cubed plus 9x squared minus x and plus 1. And I'll just graph that thing. You know, and I'm asking for the average rate of change from 1 to 3. So from, you know, if you're looking at it from like right here to up here somewhere. But I can't tell that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the table, Control T. And I'm going to go 1. Oh, there's 1. 1, 6. So 1, 6. And then I'm going to go down here to 3. And I got, looks like I got 3, -2. So 3, -2. All right, now I'm ready to do average rate of change. Remember, the y's goes on top. These are the y's. So it is 6 minus -2. Always be on the lookout for those nasty little negatives. Oops, I can't even highlight it. Those nasty little negatives are going to bite you in the butt every time. All over, let's see, we're going to subtract the y. The x is on top. Now I want 6 minus -2, so I have to go -3. Oops, excuse me. -1 minus 3. Now, if I do that, let's see if I can get my big fat head out of the way. I go 6 plus 2 is 8 over -1 minus 3, which would be, what's that, -4. So my average rate of change, my AROC, I shouldn't have probably written a slope. I should say AROC is -2. Very simple. All right, I'm going to do A and C in class. It should be pretty straightforward on these. We're going to do B and D here. So you'll notice that G is the blue function. F is the red function. So what I'm looking for in this case under B is when is my blue function above my red function and or equal to. Well, these are the key points right here, right? These are my key points. Right here, blue is above. Blue is below here. And blue is above here. So it looks like, this isn't entirely true because of these graphs I made, but let's just say based on what I see here, and again, I probably got to come up with a better example, that blue is above, starting all the way over here at -infinity, and ending at -1. Now, because it has a equal to, I will put a bracket on it. Now, since it's in more than one place, I'm going to put an or, starting at 2 and going off to the right forever and ever and ever. And this is the part that's not necessarily true on this particular case, but don't worry about it for now. I'll make a better example on the test. We'll put a bracket and parentheses. So based on what I see in this graph, that's the answer to this question. Now, how does that differ from this one? Well, this one says, when is blue below? Now, according to this graph, it's below from here to here. So from -1 to 2, it's below or equal to. So I'll put brackets on both those. That's it. Straight up. That's it. All right, I'm going to stop this just to make sure it's recording right. All righty, I'm back. Here's the simple thing about this one. What is the result when this is subtracted from this? So this thing comes first, and we are subtracting these things. So mathematically, what I'm doing is -3x cubed plus 6x squared plus 10x minus 1. Subtract this mess right here. And again, make sure you're really conscious of those silly negatives, right? We're going to distribute the negative here, so that gets plus 5x squared. We're going to distribute the negative here, so that gets plus 3x. And we're going to distribute the negative here, so that gets minus 4. So I know I've got a minus, let's see, we're going to put all this stuff together. So I got minus 3x cubed, so it's not these two. Now I've got 6x squared and 5x squared. That's positive 11x squared. So far it looks like that's the answer. So I got negative 3x cubed plus 11x squared plus 10 plus 3, that's plus 13, minus 1, and minus 4 is minus 5. And so there's the big winner. Big, simple question. All right, next question we're going to do is 5. Which equation represents the graph below? Okay, so question 5. First of all, notice it's pointing up in both directions. So that tells us that the degree is even. So I'm going to throw out these two answers right away because you'll notice these degrees are odd. I'm also noticing that it's pointing up, so that means I have to have a leading coefficient that is positive, and therefore that is the answer. And that's all there is to that question. All right, then we're doing 8 for some reason. Going to 8. I guess you can do that one on your own. We're doing that one in class. We're doing that one. So 8. Here we go. Very simple question. The graph of the quartic function. What does quartic mean? Quartic means fourth degree. So it's a quartic function. That means there should be 4 roots. I only see 2, and those are the real roots. Therefore, how many imaginary zeros or roots does it have? 2. That's it. You got to have 4. Then we're going to 11. 11. I'm going to write this out. So I want to write this as a trinomial. Now, what some dumb fool would do is square this and forget we're actually writing this twice. So 4/5 x minus 1/3 times 4/5 x minus 1/3. Hopefully that's more of like a 4. Let's try to make that a 4. All right, so 4/5 times 4/5, that's 16/25 x squared. If I multiply these two together, I get 4/15. I actually get minus 4/15. If I multiply these together, I get minus, forgot the x, minus 4/15 x. And if I multiply these together, I get positive 1/9. So my final answer is 16/25 x squared minus 8/15 x plus 1/9. Now, once again, I just want to point this out about this thing. You can always check this. Just come over to your calculator and say, you know what, I'm going to store 2.36. Just any stupid number you want. I'll store that into x. I'll type in the original. The original was, 4/5 x minus... man, I'm having a hard time seeing my keyboard. 1/3 squared. So you get some stupid answer. And then we're going to type in our answer. Control division 16 over 25x squared. Man. Control division 8 over 15x. And then plus control division 1/9. Now I'm hoping I get the exact same variable, exact same decimal. I checked it. I know I got that one correct. All right. So we're done with 11. Now we're going to go to 13b. What can I tell us about the degree and the leading coefficient of this one? Well, you notice it's pointing down. Notice it's pointing down. So that means the degree is even. That's all you can tell. And since they're pointing down, the leading coefficient is, not odd, but negative. More than likely, this is a 4th degree polynomial with a leading coefficient that's negative. Done. 13b is done. 14b. 14b, I want to factor this completely. Well, the first thing I'm going to look for is a GCF. I'm thinking it's 3. So we're going to take out a 3. The reason I'm thinking it's 3 is because when I do that, I get 125, which I know to be a perfect cube, minus 27, which I also know to be a perfect cube. All right, so 3, binomial, trinomial. First thing we're going to do is put in the signs, copy over the sign, change it. Last one's always positive. Now this one is 5y cubed. This one is 3 cubed. So those are the things that make up those perfect cubes. So in the first set of parentheses, I'm simply going to put 5y and 3. At the beginning and the end, I'm going to square both of those. So if I square that, I get 25y squared, and I get 9. In the middle, I'll just put the product of the two, which is 15y. And that's the answer to that question. 15. Not sure 15 is going to be on a test, but profit, this could come up on the region. Sometimes this comes up on the region, so I wanted you to see it. Profit is always equal to your revenue. In other words, revenue, the money you're bringing in, minus your costs. So this is a dumb way to ask you this question. What is 7x squared plus 18x plus 50 minus negative 3x squared minus 10x minus 30? It's just a dumb way to ask you that same exact question. You just have to know revenue is equal to, or excuse me, profit is equal to revenue minus cost. Distribute the negative, I get plus. Let me just do it this way because I'm going to run out of room. This is positive, and this is positive. So now I just got to add them all up because I just distributed that negative. Distribute the negative, distribute the negative, distribute the negative. So what I end up with is 10x squared plus 28x plus 80. Boom, done. All right, 15's done. 17. I want to factor this one completely. By the way, I don't think I signed, well, I signed any one of these ones I don't assign or I don't do in class, I'm going to do Tuesday night in the special extra review if you want to come to that. All right, so I'm going to look for the first two. First of all, there wasn't an overall GCF. I didn't see an overall GCF, so I'm going to take out a 4x squared, and I'm left with 3x plus 2. Minus, well, that one means this has to be a 3x plus 2. And if that's true, then I must have taken out a negative 25. So my first set of parentheses is 3x plus 2. My second set would be 4x squared minus 25. But I recognize this as the difference of perfect squares. So I'm not done. I got to keep factoring. So my final answer is 3x plus 2. And then two sets of parentheses. What multiplies the 4x squared? 2x and 2x. What multiplies the negative 25? Plus 5 and minus 5. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'll come right back. All right, looks like I'm going to do another one of these. 50. You're going to have to do this. By the way, you notice I hope you notice I did not solve this. I didn't have x equal a negative 2/3 here, right? That's because all I asked you to do was factor it. So on the test, if I ask you just to factor it, hint, hint, stop there. Don't give me any answers. Once you give me the answers, you have now given me an answer that's not correct, and I can't accept it. All right, so again, factor completely, it's not solved. So I'm going to look at the first two. Out of the first two, it looks like I could take a 25x squared out. Notice it's a perfect square, so I'm probably going to have to do some further factoring later. When I do that, it comes out 2x plus 3. Well, if that's true, this one has to also be 2x plus 3. Notice I copied that sign down immediately. Can I take out of those? Well, 18 to make a 2, I must have taken out a 9. So my first set of parentheses is 2x plus 3. Now my second set of parentheses would be 25x squared minus 9. Now in order to save a little bit of time, I'm just going to simply factor that right now. What makes 25x squared? 5x. 5x. What makes negative 9? Plus 3 minus 3. All right, knowing that one. 21. I got to describe the end behavior of this function. So the first thing I'm going to recognize is that it's odd. So I know it's odd. When it's odd, it's either going to look like this or it's going to look like this. That's an odd function, okay? And I always draw a line for an odd function. Now, since my leading coefficient is negative, I know it's going to look like this one. So as soon as I say describe n behavior, you need to start with this. As x approaches negative infinity, as x approaches positive infinity. Now, what's going on with y? What is y doing? Now, you got to remember that this means as I go left or as I go right. So as I go left, y is going up. So y is going to positive infinity. As I go right, y is going down. So I'm going to negative infinity. And that's all she wrote for that. 21 is done. Oops. I'm going to add one up here. 22. All right, you're going to do 22. I'm not doing 22. I'll do 22 in class, I mean. 24. Show that the following equation is true. So all I'm going to do here is prove that this side equals this side. Now, I hope you all recognize that this is the more, that this is the more complicated side. So we're going to make this side look like this side. All right. So my final answer is 10x cubed plus 45x squared plus 90x equals negative 10x cubed. This is probably behind my head, isn't it? Plus 45x squared plus 90x. That's some crazy good penmanship right there. So I keep this coming around. We're going to have to write this two more times, unfortunately. Now, in order to do this, I would multiply these two first. I would not distribute that negative 5. It just makes things more complicated. So negative 5x times, all right, let's do this. 2x times x is 2x squared. And now I'm going to multiply this, which gives me minus 12x. And plus 3x. So that's minus I was thinking this was a 95 down here. I'm like, how in the heck did I get that? 45. All right, this is a minus 9x. And then positive 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. And what do I do next? Nothing. I'm actually finished. Why? Because if I multiply this to here, I get negative 10x cubed. If I multiply this to here, I get positive 45x squared. And if I multiply this to here, I get positive 90x. Oops, there's an x down here. And I'm finished. Problem's over. All right, next question says, what am I doing next? 26. Simplify the following expression. All right, this one looks so difficult. It's not. The biggest thing you have to worry about is this right here. This thing right here. This little innocuous looking minus is a major problem. And when I enter major problems, what I like to do when I have those problems is drink some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It allows me to get through the difficult questions and solve them properly. All right, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to double distribute these. I'm going to double distribute these. Now the key is this one needs to stay in parentheses because it's after the minus, and the minus is a pain in the neck. All right, so I got to just do this carefully. So I get negative 32 minus 8, or plus 8h. Now I'm going to distribute this. Plus 8 hk minus, now I'm going to be careful here, 2 h squared k. And maybe I'll just leave that in parentheses for now. Bad minus. There it is. Bad minus. Keep this one in parentheses. This second one must be in parentheses. All right, so negative 8 times negative h is positive. Oops, I don't need to put positive. 8h. Oh, what am I doing? Negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Negative 8 times negative h is positive 8h. Negative 2hk times 4 is negative 8hk. And negative 2hk times negative h is positive 2h squared k. All right, so now I got to distribute this negative. So this becomes, why did I change pens? This becomes positive 32 minus 8h plus 8hk minus 2h squared k. And I'm going to combine it with these. Well, if I notice, hopefully I notice, that that cancels with that. And that cancels with that. So what I'm left with is 16hk minus 4h squared k. And that's it. I don't have to do anything else. I've simplified it. Didn't ask you to factor it. Just ask you to simplify it. Don't go crazy and start factoring this thing. All right. 26 is done. Go to 28. Oh, I got one more of these. I hate doing these things, but we'll just do one more. All right. Again, this is the thing you need to be most worried about, okay? So I'm going to deal with this one first. So it's 3a times 6 is 18a. 3a times 2ab is plus 6ab. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 2ab is plus 20ab. With a bad minus in the front. This is 20ab minus 60 minus 6a squared b plus 18a. Now, if I think about it, I'm just going to distribute. So this becomes negative, this becomes negative, this becomes negative, and this becomes negative. And I don't need to worry about this anymore. So 20ab minus 6ab is 14ab. Negative 60 and negative 60 make negative 120. Negative 6a squared b. Ooh, I believe this should be a squared b. I don't think I made a mistake. Minus 12a squared b. And then 18a minus, what is this? I feel like I made a mistake. Oh, negative 18a and negative 18a got to go. All right. Oh, wait. What am I doing? Oh, kids. Let me rewind here. You should have seen this mistake a long time ago. I apologize. Let me fix my mistake. I'm telling you, lots of stupid mistakes I could be making, and I made them all. Let me put this back the way it was and fix it. So this should have been, that's positive. This should have been, when I multiply these two together, that. And then when I multiply this, I get positive 60. All right, this is what I have. Now I'm going to distribute the negative. See, I was trying to skip steps, and I screwed up. When I screwed up this one, I screwed up everything else. So this should be minus 18a, minus 6a squared b, minus 60, minus 20ab. All right, so this 20ab cancels to this 20ab. The negative 60s get put together. I get negative 120. Negative 6a squared and negative 6a squared make negative 12a squared b. And then these cancel. And there's my answer. I don't know what the heck I was doing there. Sorry about that, children. All right. Now the reason, what am I asking for to do? I'm going to do 30, which is the same as 28. But I'm going to ask you to do 30. Now the reason, do I do 31? I don't do 31. Do you guys have to do 31? Okay. By the way, on 31, if you're doing this, oh, we're going to do that one in class, so that's okay. So I'd rather do 31. I'm going to make this 31, not 33. I'm going to make it 31 for homework. And do 29. So 29 I'm doing in class. 31 I'm going to assign for homework. Okay, change my mind. Okay, so here's the way. I can ask you one of 3 questions. I can ask it one of any 4 ways. I'm going to do D as well, where it just says divide. I could just say divide or something like that. I don't know. So, whatever. I'm not going to do that one. So, if -5 is the root, that means it came from a set of parentheses that was x plus 5. And that's what we're dividing by. So, all I'm really asking you to do is, oops, I don't want to do it there. Divide by x plus 5. 10x cubed plus 51x squared minus 16x minus 105. Now, please, just go through this conscientiously and be very afraid of negatives. So the first thing you're always going to ask yourself is, what am I going to multiply this by to get the next thing? In this case, the next thing is this 10x cubed. What do I have to multiply x by to get 10x cubed? And that's 10x squared. Now I'm going to multiply by both 10x cubed plus 50x squared. Now here comes the kicker. Change the signs. These always cancel, and I just get x squared minus 16x. What again do I have to multiply x by to get x squared? Well, that's just plus x. Notice I put a sign with it, not just a plain old x there, a plus x. Multiply by both, I get x squared plus 5x. I'm afraid this is behind my big fat head again. Come in, change their signs, minus, minus. So that's negative 21x, bring down the minus 105. What do I have to multiply x by to get negative 21x? That would be negative 21. Multiply by both, I get negative 21x minus 105. Change their signs, plus, plus, and I end up with a remainder of 0. If you do not end up with a remainder of 0 on Wednesday or Thursday, you're wrong. Now, if I simply said factor it, what are the other factors? Well, for the most part, depending on how I ask it, you're probably going to have to factor this thing. So we might as well come over here and factor it. So 10x squared plus x minus 21. So 10x squared, I'm pretty sure that's just going to be 5x and 2x. 21 is going to be 7 and 3. I just don't know where I want it, but I think this is probably 7 and this is probably 3, because I see that's 15 and I see that's 14, and 15 and 14 make 1. But I need it to be positive 1, so this one needs to be positive and this one needs to be negative. So it says, what are the other factors? Well, the other factors are 5x minus 7 or 2x minus 3. So if I ask you what are the other factors, that's the answer to the question. If I ask you to factor it completely, well, then that includes the original, x plus 5, 5x minus 7, 2x minus 3. Or if I ask for the other roots, then you got to keep going and you got to say, okay, x is equal to positive 7/5 and x is equal to negative 3/2. And you say, okay, 7/5. I just married that up. 7/5. I cannot make a 7 for some reason. 7/5, comma, negative 3/2. And those would be the other roots. That should be curly brackets. Sorry about that. Let me stop for a sec. All right, here we go. As soon as you see a problem like this, man, in your brain you got to be thinking, okay, they want me to do some type of regression on this. Now, you'll notice, if you read through this question, it's talking about debt and billions of dollars. I'm doing 33 in class and doing 34 at home. I'm just going to switch that. So we're doing 34 up here, and 33 at home. All right. So you may not be able to do 33 at home. You're probably just watching this one since I'm just doing it now. So I see this and I go, all right, what am I going to do with this thing? Obviously, I'm going to do regression, but notice I don't tell you whether or not you're going to use quadratic, quartic, cubic. I don't even know. So if you remember correctly, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our calculator. We're going to go over to our calculator. And don't forget, you got to type in X, you got to type in Y. Now, in order to save time on this video, I already have this done. Now, how am I going to look at the dots to see what type of regression I'm going to do? All right. If you remember correctly, I'm going to go into Doc, Insert, and then we go to Data and Statistics. So Doc 47, Data and Statistics. Click on this down here, X. Click on this here, Y. Now, if you notice, you look at this. It's going up here in this direction. Down, up, down, up. Notice it's pointing up in both directions. There's a relative min here, there's a relative max here, and a relative min here. So that's 3 relative extrema. So more than likely, this is a 4th degree polynomial. I'm like, all right, 4th degree polynomial is quartic. So I'm going to come back over here and go Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations. Not quadratic, that's 2nd degree. Not cubic, that's 3rd degree. We're going to do 4th degree. If it was cubic, it would be going in opposite directions. I'd have some curves, but the ends would go in the opposite directions. In this case, they were both going up. So we're going to do quartic. X and Y. Now, there's the equation. If you can't see it, you look down here. There it is. What's the common mistake made? Well, first typing in, oh, and I didn't address the fact. I should have. Apologize. Let me address the fact. Notice I put in 0, 1, 2, 3. That's because right here it says 0 is 2006. That means that's 1, that's 2, all the way up to, I think, 10. All right, don't forget your Y equals. Round to the nearest thousands place. Some of you haven't been very good at rounding. All right, there's our first one. If you can't see it all, you look down here. Thousands place is 3 decimals, so 2.596. So 2.596 x to the 4th minus, now if you can't see it all right down, you look down here, minus 53.778. So minus 53.778 x cubed. Look at the next one. 355.044. So plus 355.044. Now the reason it's 44, sorry about those 4s, is you'll notice that that 7 right there is going to round that 3 up, right? That 7 right there rounds that 3 up. Now we'll go down. Minus 800. Now I can't see all that, so I'm going to have to look down here. Minus 829.176. Should be x squared. Minus 800, forgot it already, 29.176x. And finally, the last number is, I can't see it again, 581,678 plus 581.678. Woo, that's a pain in the neck. Based on your model, round to the nearest tens place, what will the debt be halfway through 2011? All right, so 2011, halfway through, let's see. If this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this is 5, this is 6. Halfway between the year would be 5.5. And that's what I'm going to stuff into this equation. So my work, I shouldn't say y equals. My work is I'm going to say x equals 5.5, and I'm going to check my equation here. So my equation is going to be y equals, and I'm going to plug in 5.5 in for x. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go into calculator mode. I'm going to say, okay, 5.5 control var x, bam. Oops. Now why can't I do that? Because I already have x here defined over here, so I can't do that. I'm just going to call it something else. I'm just going to call it y for now, or I'm going to call it p for now, or 5.5 control var. I'll just use A. A is just as easy as anything else. And since my equation's right there, 2.596 A raised to the fourth. Again, it's just x. Minus 53.778 x, A cubed, plus 355.044, I believe those are 4 fours, x squared, minus 829.176 x, plus 581.678. Bam. Oops, I accidentally put an X in. Y'all notice I did that? These should be A's. That's why I did that crazy answer I just got. Just make sure I would just start over. All right, 189.478. 189.478. Round to the nearest tens place. Y is equal to 189.5. Does that make sense? It's close enough. It's close enough. I wouldn't worry about that too much. All right. You'll do 34 on your own. All right, what's next? I got to do 36. 36. All right, this is a simple question. I want to know what is the function f of x equal to. So it's a, I've got 3 roots. I've got minus 5, that comes from x plus 5. I've got minus 2, that comes from x plus 2. And I've got positive 3, that comes from x minus 3. So now I just need to figure out what is my dilation in order to get the exact equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point that's easy, like this point right here. I'm going to use this y-intercept. That point is 0, 6. In other words, the y value is 6, but the x value is 0. So a, 0 plus 5, that's just 5. 0 plus 2, that's just 2. And 0 minus 3. Again, this is my x value. I'm plugging it in for x. This is my y value. I'm plugging it in for y. So I get 6 equals a times, well, 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is negative 30. When I divide by negative 30, I get a equals negative 1/5. So what is the exact equation of this function? F of x equals negative 1/5 x plus 5 x plus 2 x minus 3. Done. Problem's over. All right, let me pause and I'll be right back. All right, we're at like a 6-point question. I'm going to do one of these in class, and I'm going to do one here, and I'll do a couple more Tuesday night, if you would like me to. Oops, what do we got here? Why can't I write? Am I going to be able to write? Okay, good. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to solve this. I'm going to solve this equation. Now, if you guys got to remember, I have a radical, so my first job is to get the radical all by itself. I got to get that thing all by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract this 4 over. So I get negative 2 square roots of x to the 4th minus 35x squared equals negative 12. Now I'm going to divide by negative 2. So I get x to the 4th minus 35x squared equals 6. Now I'm going to do what? Now you got to draw on what you've learned in the past. I'm going to square both sides. In order to get rid of a radical, you have to square things. But you got to remember, if I see a radical, that means I need to check my answers. Anytime I see a radical, got to check your answers. All right, that should look a little more like a radical. All right, so when I square both sides, I get x to the 4th minus 35x squared equals 36. Now I have to factor. In order to factor, I need to bring this over. So I get x to the 4th minus 35x squared minus 36 equals 0. Let's factor it. Factoring here is relatively straightforward. x squared. What multiplies to 36 that adds up that when I subtract give me 35? Now normally this would never, ever, ever, ever happen. But in this case the answers are going to be 1 and 36. Because when I subtract those, I do in fact get 35. Now there's a reason I picked those, is because they're perfect squares. Right? So it's negative 36 and positive 1. All right, at this point I'm just going to go solve these. This one, I get x squared. Now, if I wanted to, I can, let me just keep factoring if I want to. This one I can't factor. It's x squared plus 1. This one I can factor to x plus 6, x minus 6. And I get two answers. X equals negative 6. X equals positive 6. I'm also going to get two answers from this piece over here. But this piece is a little bit trickier. I got to do x squared plus 1 equals 0. X squared equals negative 1. Take the square root of both sides, and don't forget a plus or minus. Now, what is the square root of negative 1? It's I. So x equals plus or minus I. So right now, there's my four answers. But since this is a radical question, all radical questions must be checked. And remember, you always check back in the original. All right, so let me put my calculator up here. Get rid of all this crap. And the first thing I'm going to do is store negative 6. I always start with a negative. Control, just makes things easier. X. Let's enter. I'm going to go negative 2, control, square root, x raised to the 4th, minus 35x squared. Come out of there and then put plus 4. Now, if this works, it should be equal to negative 8. I'm hoping it is. Boom. So I know negative 6 works. So I'm coming down. So this checked. Now let me check positive 6. Come up here. Positive 6 should be equal to negative 8. Negative 8. Positive 6 works. Now I'm going to try negative I. Ooh, negative 8. Looks like maybe all four of them are going to work. This isn't always the case. Now I'm going to check positive I. Ah, they all work. Sweet. So my answer is plus and minus I plus and minus 6. All right, kids, that's the test. That's all she wrote. I have more of these to practice. If you want to do some more practice on Tuesday night when I get home from wrestling, I will send a message out to remind that I'm coming on my way home. All right, see you guys. Catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.